So in the Seville, the bulkhead connector is, I think, about here. So I have plenty of wire to route it over the engine. Hey there, fellow gearheads. Today is a special day because we got special delivery. The engine wiring harness for my old 350 engine. Now this harness isn't intended for my Cadillac Seville or my old 350 engine. It's originally intended for a Chevy Nova, Chevy Seville, Chevy El Camino or some Buicks. These are Delphi Packard 56 terminals, 25 pieces for 18 gauge wires and 25 pieces for 14 to 16 gauge wires. These are from the electrical depot. And here we have the engine wiring harness. So the main reason I ordered this is this part here. I couldn't find just this connector as a standalone. So I had to order a whole engine wiring harness. So my plan is to configure this to make it fit for my engine. And I printed out this electrical wiring plan from a Chevy Nova 76, which this wiring harness was intended for. And I'm going to look how I can refit this wiring harness for my engine. So I think this is for the generator as well as this. My guess is that these two cables are for the starter. So here we have the V8 engine distributor, the coil. What catches my eye is the oil pressure switch with dark blue wiring right here. Dark blue. Let's have a look at the starter motor here. Here we have a red thick cable with a fusible link, which could be that. Oh, purple wiring. That could be the small one, again from the starter, and it's going to the fuse box connector. So we have found the starter cables, pink to the coil. So let's have a look if we can find the dark green one. Dark green. Temp sender. Dark green goes also to the fuse box connector. Now let's find out if this is the generator. Where is it? Oh, here. We have a brown wire and a red wiring. Where is this wire going? Red. Also to the J block. The sense here is just one red wire. So I think that somewhere they must be connected. Let's test the connection. All right. Here is another one. Back to the start. Let's open it up. Oh yeah. All the red wires connect here to just one outlet to the fuse block connector. I'm going to test these terminals real quick. I'm not going to push them too far in, since they have this little hook thing here. So if you push them together like this, you can get them out. But you're gonna need some tools. They fit great. Alright guys, see you back at my engine. At first, I thought the wiring I did for the first engine start would be the last. But then, I accidentally threw away my original bulkhead connector when I moved from my old garage. So now, I gotta fix things up a bit. Come along as I try to figure it out and get it done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna check how this wiring harness fits on my engine, lay the wires out and do some rewiring. So in the Seville, the bulkhead connector is, I think, about here. So I have plenty of wire to route it over the engine. We have the ignition wiring, so I can get rid of that. This is the starter motor down here. A little screwdriver to get the connector out. Alrighty. I began by connecting the generator first, which is farthest away from the fuse box. Generator is done. So that's the starter down here. So maybe this one works down here, like this. I can still go to the starter with these two wires. Like this. So I'm gonna let this loose to check the fitment later on. So this goes into the bed terminal like this. Oh, I need the pink wire up here. Well, just to get things going, I'm gonna fix it with just a zip tie. So now I have a starting point. Maybe I'm gonna turn this around upside down. The wires are long enough. I'm gonna try that. This. I think I'm gonna run all these wires here down there. I thought I would have to rewire the harness just a bit, but in the end I had to modify it from end to end. I need all these wires to run down here. After rerouting most of the wires, I had to relocate all the cable hoses. It was my first time working on my engine while commenting on each step. It was quite challenging, as I often found myself in a meditative state during this calming work. I think that's the reason why I constantly took deep breaths throughout the whole process, because in the back of my mind I knew I should say something, but it didn't come naturally. However, I persevered, knowing that making a little progress every day adds up to big results. Both the generator and AGI distributor were connected, giving me 2 starting points to route the rest of the harness. Nice. The next logical step was wiring the starter motor, so I unscrewed the heat shields to access the connectors. Out with the old, in with the new. So as you can see, I've rewired the starter. A bit of wiring is still left, but so far so good. So all these wires can go. So this red wire is for the transmission kickdown switch and the choke. Light green is my oil pressure sender, and the black one with the white stripe is for my water temperature sender. Since I have wired this already, I'm gonna reuse this wire also for the water temperature sender and replace this with these 2 wires. So that means that I have to get the green wire out here and put in the light green, and I need to look where this wire goes. Alright, that worked really well, better than I thought. This one is right here, and I tried to push this in. The tool I used is the Beta 1497. Alright. So the next thing I'm gonna try is to pull in this wire using that one. I have aftermarket gauges, and the wire you see me pulling out was originally for the water temperature sensor. My aftermarket sensor has no blade connector, and since water temperature and oil pressure sensor were already wired, why not reuse as much as possible? So I pulled out the original wire. Pull these 2 in all the way. All right, This is my transmission kickdown switch, and the positive wire is going over to the electrical choke. So this blue wire right here, one is red, one is blue and turns to gray. This is the original wire down here from the transmission. So this wire has to go in there too. And the red one, I think, even if this is a very thick wire, I think I'm going to connect this with the small red wire here. So the next thing I'm gonna try is at least get the red wire in here too. I'm going to try to get them connected right here. So I really don't want to mess with this.
As you can see, this is a solid connection, which I didn't want to mess with and risk a worse connection. That's the reason why I went back to my plan discussed earlier in this video, soldering the wires on top of the engine together.
I'm gonna use the chance to get the green wire back in. Alright, now the black and white one. So at least that one worked. Now I'm gonna try to connect these two wires.
To prepare for soldering, I cut the pre-installed terminal, shortened the wire I installed back then, and removed some cable sheathing from both cable ends. Then I placed a pinch connector over one side of the cable and entangled the wires for a better connection. I placed a towel underneath where I was soldering, just in case. After soldering, I pulled the pinch connector over the soldered connection and crimped both sides using crimp pliers. Then I used electrical tape to seal the connection. And put the wire back into the cable hose. I repeated the process of taping for this cable hose, which goes into the bigger cable hose too.
Now let's have a look where all these wires have to go in my Seville. So this is my bulkhead connector oil pressure switch. Dark blue to EX. EX. Okay, dark blue oil pressure. Since this is the oil pressure switch, my light green one has to go here. So now I have to get out the dark blue. Let me get the terminal on this first. I have these two connectors 18 gauge and 14 to 16 gauge. I need the 18 one. EX is this one. Oh yeah, sweet. Dark green. Engine coolant temperature switch. This one is dark green. DX. In my case, black with a white stripe. DX. Okay, that is that one. Just had to tweak this a little, since the distance from this stop to this one is too close for my pliers. Alright, so this is my engine coolant switch. This has to go in here. I'm just fiddling around a bit to make sure it is seated all the way, because I don't think it is. Now it definitely is. What is this? CY. What is CY? CY. This is the big wire from the generator. That is correct. The brown wire down here is CX. Where does CX go? CX, brown, to the generator. This one, that is correct. This is the CX wire, this brown one. So this is correct too, which is nice. These three are correct so far. Where does the purple wire go? This is DY. Fuel injection manifold harness and starter. Alright, purple is down there, which goes to my starter. And there is another red wire to my starter too. In this case it's brown. In my case I rewired it to red, because here the junction block is all red with this engine wiring harness. So the last one is pink. In my case, pink goes here to my HEI distributor. This is EX, EY, HEI distributor. Alright, FW and EW. FW and EW, economy meter, but I don't have that, and I won't have that. DX, EX are wired. CX is wired too. CY is wired. EC isn't wired yet. What does EC do? Okay, that is for my ignition switch, so that is pretty important. Yellow. Twilight Sentinel photo cell is where yellow goes, but I don't have it, so I don't need it. AW. Brown. Downshift switch. Okay. Now I have wired my transmission to a self-made downshift switch, this one. But if my Caddy has one inside, I think it is at the gas pedal. I don't need this outside. Oh, that would be clean. But just for now, I'm gonna leave it, since I want to start the engine just one more time before I put everything together. FX is engine temp switch. So maybe this is my oil pressure switch. Could that be? So if that is the engine temp switch, okay, maybe I'm going to rewire the engine temp switch, but I'm not sure yet. But other than that, I really need the EC wire. EC, I need another positive cable for EC to power my ignition switch. One more red wire has to go here. I gotta reopen that. Hopefully one last time, but I don't think so. So here is my red wire. Just the pink one is a little short, but that's okay. What I'm looking for here is that the rest of the wires are equally long, roughly. EC. Okay, on top of pink. Look at this. This one is the EC wire for my ignition switch, and with that my bulkhead connector is finished so far. The only thing I maybe need is transmission kickdown switch, AW, it would be this one, and maybe the engine temp switch, FX. So maybe these two get wired sometime in the near future.
All these wires to the bulkhead connector are still very long. I plan to shorten them when everything is put together. That's why I wasn't concerned about the relatively short pink wire compared to all the other wires.
So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. And the next engine start is for a new video.
And as always, drive safe and take care. Servus.